Miss Liz. Tea time, yeah, making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time, making a difference. One cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time, time.
Well, welcome to tea time. It is evening tea time. We've done morning, we've done afternoon, and now we're back in the evening. And I have the incredible Pepper Ann here. And yes, we will get to see what Pepper Ann looks like tonight. And we've been sitting in the back just giggling away, having some fun. And you know it's a good match when the guest and the host forget about the time and we run a little few seconds late. So I just want to really thank Pepper Ann for giving me the honor to share her story tonight with all of you guys out there. So let's get it rolling. Let's get the disclaimer going, a little bit of bio, and then we're going to get Pepper Ann in here. So I want you guys to put in the comments if you have any questions or anything. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Do all that good stuff. Grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab a glass of wine, grab a beer. You don't need to drink tea when you're on Tea Time with Miss Liz. So the disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz, myself, is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forward in good faith. However, may bring forward dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the giving time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in tonight's show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that the show is not made for you at this time, I respect your wishes and will see you at a later show at a later date and time. And again, all tea times this year are on Thursday, 10, 3, and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, unless there's a change. Keep your eye on the Facebook page for all of that. If it's not on a Thursday, it's a rescheduled tea time, or it's a surprise guest that wants to come back and have a double tea with Miss Liz. So now a little bit on Pepper Ann. Well, Pepper Ann is a 7th-generation Texan where she and her family currently reside. She gained experience working alongside private investigators where she learned to find detailed information about stories of interest and eventually expose their cover-ups. Pepper's dream is to bring to light the story behind some of the nation's biggest true stories that we're all heard about. And she is making sure that we hear all sides to the story so that we may make our own decisions. And you can find her on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all those good places. So let me get Pepper Ann in here and let's spill some tea with you on some crime stories tonight. Welcome, Pepper Ann.
Hi, Miss Liz. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
You know, we were sitting in the back and giggling and having such a ball that I was just like, I got to get focused. Like, I got to get my stuff and
I do that
So,
to people. Yeah, I tend to do that.
so Pepper, I want to get a little bit into you before we get into the story that we're going to talk about tonight. So, who were you, Pepper, as a little girl, and who are you now as a grown woman?
When I was a little girl, I used to love to read. I loved to write. Playful. I think I had a lot of friends. Today, I'm playful in an adult way, meaning that I love to pull back the pieces of stories that people may not want told. I believe in honesty and telling as much of the truth as I can. I have friends, I have family who love me, support me in my decisions, and inspire me. And I think that the only difference between the two is the age difference in the way you look at things as a child compared to an adult. Yeah, you
So,
know.
so Pepper, were you always a truth seeker?
Yeah, I think so. I loved Harriet the Spy when I was little. I loved, I loved all those little detective shows and things. And as an adult, I have the privilege of being able, or I have the opportunity to be able to pursue that. Um, and yeah, I love getting in people's business.
Right? Getting that. You just mentioned I Spy. Sorry if I'm bouncing around a little. A little tender, but you mentioned I Spy. I haven't played that in decades.
Mhm.
So, what was it about I Spy that got your attention?
I think it's the details. I love details. And I realized that when I was writing this story, that I love putting details and everything in so that people know things that they may not have heard about when they were originally told the story. I love being able to find out things like facts, hidden things, and it kind of adds to a story, you know? And that's my thing.
So, when did you start writing?
When I was younger, I dabbled in it a little bit. When I was probably, I don't know, it's probably 19 years old, I wrote a letter to a politician to ask them to explain to me why I should vote for them. And they responded. My grandma kept the letter, and it always kind of stayed with me. My grandma always encouraged me to write. And then, oh, I don't know, the story about a family member came up, and my husband actually inspired me to do this. He's the reason that I decided to pursue this, and my other family members. So I didn't actually hop into it seriously until probably about 12 or 13 years ago.
So, how long did it take to write the book that we're going to talk about tonight?
It took me about 12 or 13 years. It took
Wow.
me a good while. Yeah, because I had to rewrite it several times. The people that I was exposing hacked into my computer and deleted my work. And so I had to keep writing it over and over. Thank goodness I remembered parts of what I'd written, or I would have been lost.
So, let's get into that a little bit because you shared a little bit of that story with me when you submitted to be on Tea Time, that your computer was hacked. So the people that you were exposing, this is a true story. Just for everyone that's listening, we're going to be talking about a true story and true crimes tonight. So, and you're a family member, correct, of Bob?
Yes, I am. We did not know we were related to one another when I first took this project on, but he is a cousin. His grandpa and my grandpa were brothers, and I did not know about his side of the family. He didn't know about mine. Bob, the person the story is about, is incarcerated. So I'd reached out to him and explained who I am, that we're related, and I told him I wanted to write the story. It wasn't until I started reading a little, everybody said, "Oh, this is a great, exciting story." And they're right, it is. But what caught my interest was all the people who committed crimes alongside him, and they're still committing crimes today. They got
Oh,
away with what they'd committed before, and they're still doing it today. So that's what caught my interest. I wanted to bring these people out. And so I reached out to him and said, "Let me write the story." He said, "Okay." And that's how it went.
Yeah, because Pepper, I wasn't sure if Bob was still in prison or if he was still living. So, did you have like a sit down with him?
Yeah, yeah. I we know each other very well. Uh, yeah, I visited him quite a bit. I'm the one that he told everything to. I was able to get the actual story, um, and it took years and years of that. Now there was someone who was tied in with the story who um, had managed to come in and write their own version, and they tried to steal parts of what I'd had. And they made light of the crimes that were committed. So there was someone else who tried to do that, and they had their story out about the same time I did. But there's this fiction. Mine is truth. In fact, I've uh, documented everything in mine, and so it shows that everything is true what I have. But Bob was with me for a majority of the time while I wrote it, because I got interviews from him and everyone involved. So yeah.
So, the people that hacked you, they're the ones that wrote the other story, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So, and that's why you say at the bottom of your bio here is that you wrote this story so people can decide for themselves. You know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, do you recommend that they buy the two books? Like, do you say like, here, go listen to what they got to say? And why the cover up? Were they part of it? Were they family members? These people that hacked you?
I'm actually exposing someone very big here in the state of Texas,
Oh,
and they didn't want that person to be exposed. It's
okay.
someone that if they were exposed, it could ruin them. They're known, they're known worldwide. It's someone that has paid a lot of money to cover up all the crimes. So the people that were involved in the crimes alongside of Bob that I've exposed, not only did they delete my work, they loosened the lug nuts on mine and my family members' tires. So they made it very clear they did not want me to pursue this story. Um, so if the right person's name comes out, if people can figure it out, I put the people involved with this individual, but if the right person is exposed, they could come crumbling down and it could ruin them.
Well, Pepper,
And they're still involved in the crimes. And that's what gets me. People idolize these individuals.
wow.
And they don't even realize what's going on.
So, Pepper, you worked with private investigators and that as well, correct?
I did. Now I did that before I took this project on, and that's actually how I learned to do the investigative side of things. What to know, what to look for, and what to do. And once I decided to take the project on, I went full force with it. But the private investigators I worked with was before I took this on. Yeah.
So is Bob still alive?
He is still alive. He is. He has 14 life sentences, so he's never getting out of prison. Yeah.
So, Pepper, if you can, I don't want to put anybody in any danger. Can you share some of the crimes that he's committed?
Oh, absolutely. I'm an open book. I'll tell you anything you want to know. Yeah. So let me kind of back up here. Bob started rustling cattle when he was a teenager. And what that is that's stealing, farm animals, horses and cattle and things such as that. He stole cattle. He worked with a DPS state trooper. The DPS state trooper actually approached him, got him involved in it. And that was the first stint that Bob ever got in trouble for. And the DPS state trooper lost his license. He should have gone to prison, but he didn't. And Bob got, you have to read the book. He got
yeah, we don't want to give too much away because we want people to go and buy the book.
Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. So he got probation. So he was involved in a large crime ring here in the state of Texas of stealing cattle. And he eventually got married to a woman who was running they were running a party ranch, and she was blackmailing people, catching them in uncompromising positions and taking pictures of them and then blackmailing them. And so that happened. So the crimes that Bob is, his 14 life sentences that he has are based not on the cattle rustling, but he escaped jail twice. And the second time he escaped, he had kidnapped, and he'd done a lot of those crimes. He'd kidnapped some individuals, and because he was on the run, he was trying to get even with the people that were involved in the crimes, and none of them were home. And I put that as proof in the book. I put that in there. But he had the people that he was with, that he escaped with, they had assaulted some of the victims. He was involved in high-speed chase. So the 14 life sentences that he has are based on the crimes he committed when he escaped jail the second time. He was involved in a shootout. He released the married couple. And so there's so many crimes he committed. Let's talk about what he didn't commit. That might be easier.
Yeah, because the list over here is really long, but the list over here is. But what made Bob do it? Like, did Bob ever tell you why he got into it? Was it for the money? Was it for the excitement, the adrenaline? Like, because people do crimes because of adrenaline drives, right? So what was it that got him into it?
Well, his father actually got him into all of this. It was his rearing. I blame his rearing. What kept him in it was the money. It was the adrenaline. And when he tried to get out of it, the people that he was involved with would not release him. They wouldn't let him go. It's because they paid his bonds from the 80s when he got caught up with the DPS state trooper. And no matter what he did, he couldn't get out of it. I believe he wanted to at the time, but the more involved he got, I don't think that he wanted to. I think he's a criminal, and I don't believe that he would ever change. That's all he knows.
So we have a question here for you, Pepper.
Uh-huh.
Was he the only one that got arrested for the crimes?
Well, so he and the other 4 individuals who escaped from the Grayson County Jail, they were all arrested, and they all ended up in prison, all except for one who ended up in jail. The individuals who were involved in the crimes with the cattle rustling scheme and all the blackmailing and money laundering and everything, there were a few others who were arrested, but they were released. As far as the crimes from all of that, Bob is the only one who is serving time for any of it. Everyone else was released.
So we have another question for you, Pepper. Was all of these crimes committed in Texas?
A majority of them were in Texas, because when he crossed the state lines with one of the escapees from Grayson County, they went into Oklahoma. So some of the crimes happened in Oklahoma, especially with the cattle rustling, but a majority of them were in Texas. Yeah. So what happened was they had Bob and his ex-wife they were running cattle. So they were answering ads in cattlemen's magazines of people who were looking for a place to pasture their cattle, someone to care for them. So once they got the cattle, they went to the banks and they got mortgages on them. And then they took them to the sale barns and they sold them. And so the cattle, once they had them, they were supposed to tag them and keep them in a pen, and care for them, but they didn't. So they sold the cattle outright across state lines. They carried them to Oklahoma, to Louisiana. I mean, they went up as far as, up north as far as they could. So that was an interstate crime. It made it a federal offense. So
we have another question for you, Pepper.
Okay.
Was Bob's wife ever arrested?
She was arrested, and she ended up going to Louisiana. And my book goes into detail about it. Okay. She was able to get out of her crimes. And you'll have to read the book. Yeah. But she did turn herself in to a Texas Ranger, and then she ended up bonding out. Her family bonded her out, and then she served minimal time in the jail. But she didn't. Everyone thought that she was going to get prison time, and she certainly should have for her charges because they were federal. Because she was going to the banks and she was signing uh, documents and loans so that they could get loans on the cattle. Because Bob couldn't do that; he had a record, so it was on her.
So
So
how
she
did she
had
get out?
federal.
So without giving too much away, Pepper,
Mhm.
how did she get out of it?
You tell me. You tell me.
Oh,
These are questions I put in the book, and as a family member, we want to know too.
so
Yeah.
she was swinging the other way too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, she's yeah, today, let me tell you, she's swinging in so many different directions. We don't know what to say about it. Today she oversees an adoption agency, and she oversees the finances for an adoption agency, a
Oh,
worldwide adoption agency. So I wanted to pull all this out and put it in front of people so they could look at it a little closer and figure it out, because we have questions too.
well,
Yeah.
it opens a whole new door, right? Like, how
Mhm.
did she get away with it? Who did she actually speak to get away with it? And how are they involved that they let her get away with it? These are all questions that we should be asking. And I
Mhm.
really highly recommend all of my viewers and listeners, if you're watching a replay, push hashtag replay, but go out and grab this book, because the information that Pepper has sent me, I know that there's a lot. And I don't want to give too much away because I really want people to go out and buy the book. I want you to support Pepper. But we need to get the story out there as well. So we're not trying to give away a lot, but enough that you guys will be intrigued to go and get the book. And that, so Pepper, do you see this book being made into a movie?
I'm going to tell you, I've had a lot of people, God bless them. I love the people that email me. They keep me going with my family. Um, they encourage me. They've told me that this book should be made into a movie. I don't know if it will. I just don't know. There's a lot of interest, a lot of people who read it. They believe it is, but I haven't had any producers or actors or anybody reach out to me. So I don't know. Maybe it's just not in the right place for the right people to do it, or what. But I've had a lot of people tell me it's exciting and they didn't want to put the book down. So
Or do you think it's because of who's involved, it's not getting there?
no, you know what I think it is? I think it's because I'm an indie author and I'm trying everything I can to get the book out there. And I've tried to market it as much as I can. My friends, my family, people that work with me, my PA, Laura, everybody, we're all trying everything we can to get it out there. I think it's because I'm a new author. It's my first book, and I think it takes time to get known.
Well, I
But
think
the
if anybody goes out and buys the book, Pepper, then we might open some doors, right? So let's
hope
get
so.
people buying this book, and getting that story out there. But I think it's important to get the real crime stories out there,
Yes.
because
Yes.
then history will repeat itself if those stories are not told. And what really got my attention when you reached out to me, Pepper, was the cover up.
Yes.
Is, why do people have to cover up the truth? Why do people have to cover up the crimes? We're never going to get justice for anybody in this world when we keep covering up things. And at some point the truth does come out, whether you like it or not. It does. That's just the way the world works. And Pepper, I really want to thank you for sharing this story with us tonight, and all the viewers out there. Um, so how did you come up with the name of the book?
I didn't get it until probably the very end. I was talking to Bob and I realized he's a swindler. We all know that. And was notoriously known because he was on the run for days, many times. And it just came to me. I thought he's not the most well-known cattle rustler, but he is a con man and he is one heck of a swindler. And he is notoriously known for that. And it just came to me, but it didn't come to me till the end. it fit him perfectly. I've had a lot of people. TDC has been wonderful. So Bob is in Texas Department of Corrections here in Texas, and he's not far from me. And when I would go in to see him to talk to him and interview him or whatever, the wardens or the guards, they were amazing. Everybody that's helped me or I've spoken with, the majority of them have been just wonderful. They'd ask me, how's the swindler doing today? They started calling him the swindler. So the name stuck. Yeah.
So, Pepper, for anybody that doesn't know what a swindler is, what is a swindler?
It's a con man. It's somebody who will swindle. They'll steal your money. They will convince they will convince you to give them every dime they have, or you have. Every dime you have, they'll convince you to give it to them. He's so charismatic. He's able to do it. I mean, he could sell ice to an igloo. I mean, he's just you have some people in the world that are like that, and I don't understand it because, you know, I'm not like that. So I wouldn't want to be that way, but that's how I was raised, and then it just comes natural to him.
So, Pepper, we have a question. Is there anybody else in your family that is a swindler?
Yes. And I may write about him. Yeah. He's well known. Yeah.
Pepper, I think you're the voice for the family to break the truth out.
Well, please remember there's a lot of us who are not crooked, though. We have several in our family who are not. They're amazing, you know. But yeah, we have our fair share of outlaws in the family, and I may write about the next one. Not it may be a little bit. I have a couple other books in mind, but yeah.
So what other books have you written, Pepper?
This is actually my first one. My personal assistant, Laura, I can't say enough good things about her. She's just amazing. She's the one who has taught me everything about what the process is as far as trying to get my book out there. So she was able to convince me to write some fiction, crime fiction. And so I'm in the process of working on a series that I'm wanting to do. So I have that. I have another true crime story that I'm working on, and I'm going to co-author it with my mom. We're gonna write it together. I'm excited. Yeah. So, and the person that we're writing about is I'm trying to. They were an upstanding individual, and I want to tell their story as much as I can. They're related to us by marriage, but didn't know them very well, and they're no longer alive. But it's a story that I wanted to take on, and I'm hoping that I can do it justice. But I'm writing it with my mom. She's amazing. Yeah, I
think that's really beautiful. You know, when you can write together, when you have family members that can write together, it leaves a legacy as well. So when you're no longer here, right, you have that legacy that you wrote a story with your mom.
Well, you're fixing to find out where I get all my grit from, and it's this lady. She's amazing. My mom is amazing.
So Pepper, I want to get into you truly are like I love truth seekers because I'm a huge truth seeker. If something's fishy, I want to dig and I want to find out why it's fishy. You know, why am I getting this weird vibe from something? You know, somebody's telling me this, but I'm getting this like, oh, I don't know about this, right? I think we need to have more of that in the world. We need to have people that are standing up and saying, you know what, this is the truth. You decide what you want to believe or not. And I like that because you're leaving that open for anybody, the reader, to say, you know what, I don't know if that's, but then they'll read it again. They'll be like, I don't know. Maybe she does have a point here. Because sometimes when you read true crime stories and true documentary stories, life stories, you read the book multiple times. And every time you're reading it, you get different parts of it. Other doors start to open up, you know? And I love reading documentaries. I love reading true crime because it's somebody who actually went through it. It's not a script. It's not fiction. It's not somebody that just wrote it on a piece of paper. Somebody actually did this, and to have your family that out there, like swindling and holding people hostage and getting out of jail, escaping from prison. You see this in Hollywood, right? You see these in the movies, but you actually have family members who have done this. So you just never know someone's story. But I want to get into your tea because I think your tea is going to take us into the next flow. So if I give you the letters TEA, what 3 words would you give me tonight?
Well, they're different, but I always have the belief that you should believe in yourself. I've had moments, my family has seen a side of me, God bless them, where I just, I have times where I just want to walk away from writing because it's frustrating. And my friends and my family, they're the ones who encourage me. They need to be up here. They need to be up here because they're amazing. But I believe that if you believe in yourself, you can do anything. And I have those moments where I really do believe that I can do it. I know that I can do it. I know that there's somebody has to tell the truth. They have to expose this stuff. And if I hadn't have believed in myself when I took this project on, I wouldn't be here today telling you about Bob and all these other people, and working on my next story, my next couple of stories. It's so easy to give up on yourself, but you can't. We all have a gift. We all have a purpose. And if we believe in ourselves enough to stick with it, we might just surprise ourselves. I know I have. I've surprised myself with this book. When I first started researching it, there were a lot of articles written about Bob and the Grayson County Five, the other individuals he escaped with, and the investigative reporter who wrote the article. It was a farce. It was in GQ magazine, and there were some things in it that were true, but there were a lot of inaccuracies. And I thought, I want to tell the story about my family member. I want to put the truth out there. I don't want to convince people. I just want to put the facts out there. And I believed in myself enough to know that I could do it. And I did it. I had to keep rewriting the book, and I finally realized I have to protect it. But once you get past those obstacles, you can do anything. You can. Any of us
And
can.
And that's what it is, Pepper, right? Is you believed in yourself. So that's a strong T because that's what T is, right? It's the T of life.
Mhm.
The past, the present, and the future. You're actually doing that by sharing the past in the present so the future is known. You know, that there is still, to this day, you said there's still people involved. They're still doing this, you know? So you have to be that voice. You have to say, you know what, I can make this impact and I can make the difference because I believe in myself.
Mhm.
And eventually these people will get caught because they will, Pepper. The truth will get them, you know. Karma is a real thing, whether people believe
Yes.
it or not. Karma does come for you guys. So like, you know, I don't know who's involved, but I highly recommend that you go and get this book, you really check it out, and you you decide for yourself, like Pepper
Mhm.
says.
Mhm.
I really like that you are opening the door of the cover up because, again, the cover ups is what keeps it hidden and what keeps the repeat of history, you know? And I think it's really important that we really just open those doors and we share these crime stories with people. Yes, they're gruesome. Yes, they're hard. Yes, they will trigger some people. And if this tea time is triggering anybody, I really highly recommend that you maybe watch it at a different time. But I feel that it's deeply important to get these stories out there in order to open doors to save family members because for a while you were scared when they hacked into your computer. You were scared for yourself.
I was
Like,
scared. I was mad. I think what scared me the most was when they loosened the lug nuts on my family members' tires. And I was going to quit. I was going to stop. And my family said, mm-mm, you keep going. You've uncovered too much stuff. They don't want it known. Keep going. Um, it's a cycle. I'm hoping that I can bring attention on this cycle of crime that these people keep getting, that they keep doing. And I hope that it'll stop because they're hurting people. But my family, they were the ones that said, keep going. You got what they don't want everyone else to know. And
well, and
so,
that's the way it is, right? When you got the truth, they want to come and hush you up, right? They want to kind of silence you. So,
Mhm.
Pepper, are you in any danger at this moment?
Well, I hope I'm not. I, I don't want to trigger anything. I don't want to get anything started. I don't want to remind them that I'm still here. Um, I think I'm always going to be in some type of danger because what I'm doing is I'm exposing these people and I'm messing with their livelihood. And their livelihood is criminal life. And that's how they make their money.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm always going to be in their radar because eventually it's going to come out and people are going to hear about this. And hopefully, I don't know if it'll go viral, but hopefully enough people will say, wait a minute, is this who I think it is? And then when it is, I'll probably be in the limelight again of these people. They're dangerous. They're not willing to stop.
So, Pepper, if they ever did get caught, would you be that voice that says, you know what, it's about time?
Oh, yeah. You know, my interviews with Bob, they were hard at times. They're very difficult because he would tell me, I'm not the only one that should be sitting in here. And he's right. He should be in there, but he's not the only one. And that's what kept me going. That was one of the things that pushed me to tell the story. I interviewed the victims, the Foresters. If you read the family, if you read the book, they're the family in the very end. They were involved in the shootout. God bless them. Um, it was the married couple who Bob released, and I was telling their story. They wouldn't tell it to anybody else. They told it to me, and I had to tell it. I'm going to be whoever's voice I need to be to make a difference to stop this. Yeah.
Well, I am so proud of you. And I am so proud that you came to my table and are sharing this with all of my listeners out there. If
Thank you.
anybody has any questions or anything and you'd like to connect with Pepper, for safety reasons, Pepper, I don't want to put you in any danger. I don't want to put your family in any danger, but I strongly believe that your story will make a difference. And these people that are involved, they should be in jail. But you know what? Sometimes the crooked is the one that's in the justice system.
Yes. Yes, you're
Just
right.
saying, and that's how people get away with things because it's the justice system that's in under the crime. you know there's a lot of dirty cops, a lot of dirty justice lawyers and judges and stuff out there. It's not just like in Hollywood where they make the movie. It actually happens in real life. There are a lot of dirty people out there. So, Pepper, I want to get into a little bit of the four people that escaped with your cousin Bob.
Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. uh, one of my favorite parts about the book, I love the whole book. I mean, because it's exciting. But the part about the book where the escape happened, Bob didn't know those inmates. He was looking for people to break him out of the jail because he was trying to get even on the people who were involved in the crimes with him and who were using him as a patsy. He was a patsy, but make no mistake about it. Bob is also a criminal, so he needs to be where he is. I'm not excusing him, and I'm not saying he's innocent because he is not. But the reason he got tangled up with these other four inmates in the county jail is because he was able to convince them to break him out.
Wow.
And he was, again, he was so charismatic, they fell for it. But there were all kind, he was all over the news at the time when this happened. So he had money, but his ex-wife, his wife at the time, was taking it and hiding it with her family. And so it was all stolen money. So they believed it. They said, these inmates, they said, he's got money. We can do anything we want. Let's help the guy. Everybody in the jail was trying to help him get out.
Wow.
And I want to tell you, everybody at Grayson County, the deputies, the sheriff, the guards, everybody, they were amazing with me. They were amazing. They weren't prepared for what happened. They weren't prepared for that type of jail escape. I am upset because the GQ magazine had made some remarks about how they were Keystone cops. They're not Keystone cops. These individuals were working around the clock. The Texas Rangers. You had everyone from all the surrounding counties, including Grayson County, had the FBI, everybody. They were going around the clock trying to bring them in. And here's this magazine making light of the crimes and laughing about it. And there was nothing funny about it. But they were working around the clock to bring them in, and they did. They weren't prepared for this, for this type of jail escape. Nobody thought this was going to happen. This was in a small town,
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, Pepper, we both know that, lies and deceit sells,
Yeah.
crime sell. The truth, it doesn't sell fast. It doesn't move fast, right? But it does come out eventually, and it will come out, whether it takes 20 years, 30 years, it will eventually come out. And you have put that nudge to push people to get the truth and seek the truth. So I again, without you sharing this story, many people wouldn't have known about it. I'm in Canada, and this is the first time I'm hearing of this story. And I'm like, when you reached out to me, I was like, oh my goodness, like what? Like, this is real life. Like, there's real people doing this. And then I started to think, and I was like, well, we have our little crazy Canadian criminals too that do, moonshine and stuff like that. So you just never know what's going on in people's lives, right? So, but I was really honored to have you come and sit at the table and say, like, you know what, Miss Liz, I would like to have my story on your platform. So I really want to thank you for that, Pepper. Like, we need these stories. And I just love opening that door. I like to be that twisted T that just comes in and says, you know what? Bring it to my table. Let's see what door we open. And the viewers and listeners out there, I have them from all over. So you just never know. There might be a movie that might be made from this because we put that out there and people might not have known about it. A lot of my viewers are from Canada. So now they know about a Texas swindler, and maybe there's a Canadian swindler that knows Bob. We just don't know because we don't know where he went. Like so where do you see this going? Like, besides a movie, would you like to see it made into, like, maybe for children to understand? Because I think it's deeply important for children to understand.
I think if children understand anything about the story, I think that it should be to always pursue your passions. I'm hoping that that's what they get from this. I'm hoping that any obstacles that they may see standing in their way, that it's worth moving forward. You can do anything that you want. As far as the story about Bob, I don't want anybody to sensationalize on him. I've told him several times. My family, we use the first and middle name. I tell him Bob Harold. His name's Bob Harold Leach. I tell him Bob Harold. I believe that this story will get out there, and I believe that it'll be told and the right people will hear it. I don't know when. I don't have any of that information. But I do believe that if the right people hear it and listen to it. I think that they should make a mini series out of it. I don't know that a movie would be enough to get the point across, but I'd like for it to show in detail everything that happened in Bob's life, how he got caught up in something he could not get out of. I've had people contact me and say, no matter what direction he went, he couldn't get out of this. And I think it's important for everybody to know, especially kids, whatever decisions you make, they always come back and they always affect your life. Sometimes we just can't make the right decisions. That's life. But sometimes we can. And certain decisions that we make, we need to consider them.
Well, and that's what I mean, Pepper. Like by having the children understand, right? By making it into a series, we're not giving them the bloods and the guts and the glory and all of that. We want them to understand that the choices you make can affect your life for life.
Oh yeah.
Bob is sitting in a prison right now, in a jail, because of the choices he made,
Mhm.
And at some
When he
point,
was a teenager, these were decisions that he made when he was 18 years old, and he could not get out of them. I mean, it can affect your life for that long, like you said, for the rest of your life.
yeah.
This is not something that he made a decision when he was a grown man. He was a kid when he decided to get into this, and he was pulled into this by someone that all of us should be able to trust. It's someone in law enforcement.
Yep.
Sometimes certain things are a tragedy and it happens, and I think that's what Bob's life was. I think it's tragic the way that it happened. He did things that he could have prevented. He could have made better decisions, but there are some decisions he had no control over, and that's what I'd like people to see. I'd like them to see all the turns, the twist and the turns, and then make a decision on their own.
Well, it's like the game when we first started the conversation was the I Spy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you play I Spy, you have a choice. Do you go left? Do you go right? Do you pick this person? Do you pick that? You have choices. And I think that that's the message that we want to give with this story is the choices that you make in life affect your life,
Right.
And this man, Bob, made these choices and it ruined his life. He's sitting in a cell where the children and viewers out there that are listening to Tea Time, I want you to understand that you're the one that's in control.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get into something like Bob did, where he had no way of getting out unless he was murdered or killed, that was the only way he was going to get out. Just make better choices. Let's use this story as an example of making choices with our lives. And don't be swindlers. Don't try and pull a fast one. You're gonna get caught. It's like going to grandma's house and you try and take the last cookie. Grandma knows you've already taken that cookie before you tell grandma that you took that cookie. So with this story, I really want people to go out and read it and make the choice for themselves, like you've suggested, Pepper. And I really want them to give us feedback.
Yes. Oh, yes, absolutely. I've told Bob, we've gotten into some arguments, and he's an adult. He probably does not need to hear this, but as a family member, I'm sure I'm not the only one that does this. I point out what he's done is wrong, and I probably shouldn't do that, but I'm going to do it. But you have to be selective about the people you're around and your decisions that you make in life, and I pointed that out to him many times. He knows that. But I think, like you said, I think it's important for people to take the story, look at it, read it, and step back and make your own decisions. And I hope that the lessons you take from it are that sometimes the decisions you make in life, sometimes you have no control over that, and sometimes you do. And just use common sense. I know that's something that, some people lack. Bob's one of them. He doesn't have common sense. I'm going to just tell you straight out, he doesn't have it. He's very smart, but he lacks common sense.
So, Pepper, we have a question here.
Sure.
Does Bob have any remorse for anything he's done?
I'm going to answer that in this way. He has so much anger towards the people that got away with their crimes that he has not been able to heal, to focus on the remorse. I do think he does have remorse, but I think he's more focused right now on, I'm just going to be honest, getting even with the people who were involved in the crimes with him and got away with it. We're not even at the point where we can focus on remorse, and we should be. I want my family member to heal, and that's why I came out with the book. I came out with it so I could tell the story and allow him a chance to heal where he can have remorse. That's just an honest answer, you know.
Well, and the reason why we want to know if he has remorse is because if he ever got out, would he do this again?
Yeah. Because he hasn't been able to heal. And even if he had, he doesn't need to be out. I used to think that maybe he could be rehabilitated, but he has so much anger towards the people, and anybody would, against the people that were involved in what they did. You read the book, you'll understand. He can't heal.
So, Pepper, we have a question here. When did this happen? What year?
Oh, I'm drawing blanks here. 1989 is when he got in trouble in Comanche County. 19, and you'll have to read the book, I'm sorry. 2002, 2001 is when he escaped in 2000. He was involved with his wife, Tammy. It was in the 90s when he met and married her, and they got married by proxy. So we're looking at a big time period here from the mid to late 80s all the way to 2000 when he escaped the Grayson County Jail. So it's not just one. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important, Pepper, for us to know, because if it's like in the 1970s and the 1960s, like how long has this been? But this is recent. Like this is like not even 30 years old. Like
that's right. Yeah. And I say that, and I say this because it's been throughout his whole life. Bob is 59. He'll be 60 tomorrow. Tomorrow's his birthday. He'll be 60 years old. And a majority of his life, he's been in and out of prison because of the people he's been involved with. So, and it started when he was, like I said, 18, 19 years old. Wow. So, yeah. And there's so many crimes that were committed. I can tell you the dates, but I'm thinking, which one do I give you?
Well, it's like you said earlier in the show, right? What can I not tell you that he hasn't done, right?
He's run drugs for these people who paid his bonds. He's laundered money. He's done everything. He's rustled cattle for him. He's done anything and everything you can imagine. And he could not get away from these people who, like I said, they paid his bonds and they were tied in with his ex-wife. He could not get away from them. No matter what decision he made, they were there.
I'm still questioning Pepper. Like, how did she get away with this? You know? So I highly recommend everybody go out and grab this book, because maybe you can figure out how she got away with it, and you can let Pepper Ann know how she got away with it. You know?
So I do want to say this. I want to say this. So it took me a long time to get everything from the court system and all my FOIA records and everything. And I want to say that everyone that worked with me, they were amazing. I don't have any complaints. Just takes a while to get all of this information. At the very end, I was getting some information about his ex-wife, about the charges and how they could have possibly been dropped, who she paid, what she did. But I had to rush to get my book out because this other person was trying to get theirs out before me. And they had only been in the picture for about 2 years maybe, and they were trying to get it out there and put a bunch of, they were trying to twist it and make it funny, and it's not funny. Kidnapping people, there were a lot of victims. Kidnapping people, a shootout, none of that's funny.
Yeah.
Hurting people, stealing money from them, invading their home. That's not funny. This person made light of it. So I would have been able to probably go into more detail about her if it hadn't been for the rush that I felt to get my book out, to tell the actual story. Yeah, I'd like to know. I would like some answers. The whole family wants to know.
So, Pepper Ann, what message would you like for the listeners to hear tonight with this story?
I just hope if you get the book and you read it, you form your own opinion. And just keep in mind that I'm not trying to sway you one way or the other. I'm just trying to tell the facts and everything I've uncovered. I'm not defending anyone. I'm just telling the story. That's all.
So, and if anybody would like to reach out to you, Pepper, how can they reach out to you?
You could go to my website. It's pepperannauthor.com. There is a section on the first page if you go all the way down to the bottom, and you can email me. And I love to hear from people. Whether you love the book, you hate it, whatever your thoughts are, feel free to reach out to me and let me know. Yeah.
And get her bookmarks. Let's talk about the bookmarks before we wrap it up, because you have some really cool bookmarks that I just printed out. I was just like, oh, I love bookmarks because I love reading, guys. So you want to share a little bit about the bookmarks and the store and all of that good stuff before we wrap up?
Let me just tell you this. My PA, Laura, is the one who does the bookmarks. So I want to thank you for that, because she does an amazing job. That's why I completely trust her. She does pretty much anything and everything on that website. So majority of the stuff you see and you get, it's because she put it together. I do have I do have a section on there where it's the store, and you can buy my book. And it's in different versions. You can get an ebook, paperback, hardback. I mean, any form you like to read. I do want to do it in Audible, but we have not done that yet. I still have a few ideas of how I want to do that, but it will be coming to Audible. I'm hoping. I don't know when, but it should be available. But you go on my website and you can find anything. I have conversations with people. People have reviewed my book, and I put their honest reviews on there. And yeah, just check it out. There's all kinds of fun stuff on it. And even sign up for the newsletter. You'll get the bookmarks.
And you got Mingle with Pepper, and what else you got here? Pepper and Thoughts. Like, you got a lot of cool things. So check out the website.
Thank you.
Pepper, I'll get you to read it out for the audio people that are listening, your website, and then we'll wrap it up. And I want to thank you again for joining me, and I want to thank everybody for joining in tonight and asking all these cool questions. I love getting the truth out there. So if you have a true story and you want to get it out there, you can reach out to Miss Liz, and I'll get you. So Pepper, if you could read out your website, and I'll wrap it up.
Absolutely. So my website is pepperannauthor.com, and Ann has an E at the end of it. And like I said, if you reach out to me, I love to hear from people, and I will get back with you. It may take me a few days, but I will get back with you. And I'm just so happy to be here. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, it was a real blessing to have you here. And I had a ball before the show even started with you. So I was just like, I love when my guests and me connect really well. And I like sneaking them in before we go live so I can break the ice and just get to know them a little bit better. So I want to thank you again, Pepper, for giving me the honor of sharing your family story on my platform. For all the listeners and viewers out there, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, go and do that. Click on Miss Liz's Tea Time and ring that little bell, and you'll be notified. If you'd like to watch this Tea Time or share it with somebody that you might know that it might resonate with, you're more than welcome to do that. If you'd like to download the Tea Times, you can do that. They are on all audio podcasts out there. You named them, it's there. Go and check that out. And again, I want to thank Pepper Ann for sitting and sharing tea with me tonight. So believe in yourself and anything is possible. And I will see everybody next Thursday with 3 new TEAs for you all to enjoy. Until then, have a beautiful weekend.